We think we know history. We think we know the men who built the modern world. Sir Isaac Newton, the father of physics, the man who unraveled gravity
and the laws of motion. But there was a shadow behind the light.
When Newton died, they found a chest filled with his private papers. They didn't contain physics. They contained over 1 million words on alchemy. For 30 years, the smartest man in history wasn't looking for science.
He was hunting for the Prisca Sapientia, the ancient wisdom revealed by God.
He was hunting for the ultimate prize, the Philosopher's Stone. Why? Why would the father of science risk his reputation for what we call magic? Was he deluded? Or did he know something that we have forgotten?
To answer that, we cannot stay in the age of science. We must go back.
Before chemistry, before physics, before the modern world, we must go back to the Black Land, where the art of transformation began.
This is the secret history of alchemy, not about making gold, but making you.
The word chemistry comes from Khem, the ancient name for Egypt.
It meant working with the spirit of the gods, hidden inside the matter. Legend speaks of a text, the foundation of all occultism, the Emerald Tablet.
It contained a single, cryptic maxim that would drive men mad for centuries.
That which is below is like that which is above. To do the...
As above, so below. It meant the universe is a single, living organism.
If you understand the stars, you understand the gold within the earth. They believed metals were alive, growing in the womb of the earth. Lead was simply sick gold. The alchemist's job was to cure the metal, to speed up time. But when the libraries burned, the flame of knowledge did not die. It moved east.
While Europe slept in the Dark Ages, the Islamic Golden Age was awakening.
Here, alchemy became a rigorous science. Enter Jabir ibn Hayyan, known to the West as Geber.
He introduced a new concept, the elixir, Elixir. Jabir believed that by rearranging the fundamental qualities hot, cold, dry, and moist, one could transmute matter.
But he wrapped his writings in impossible codes to protect the secrets.
From the page to the air, the truth dissolves into the atmosphere.
Why the secrecy? Because knowledge was power, and power was dangerous. The Arabs gave us the apparatus we still use today, the alembic, the retort, the alcohol. But they also gave us the map, the stages that every soul and every metal must go through. First, the Nigredo, the blackening, the dark night of the soul, the death of the ego, the rotting of the material to its primal state.
Without death, there can be no rebirth.
In the 12th century, these texts were translated into Latin. alchemy flooded into medieval Europe.
But it arrived in a world dominated by the church. A world of dogma.
To claim you could perfect nature was to claim you could do God's work. It was heresy.
And yet, one man, a humble scrivener in Paris, supposedly succeeded.
Legend says he found a book that shouldn't have existed.
His name was Nicolas Flamel.
And his story would blur the line between history and myth forever.
Take a look at this symbol. Have you seen it before? It holds the key to his secret.
It started with a dream. An angel appeared, holding a magnificent book bound in copper.
Years later, by sheer chance, a stranger sold him that exact book for 2 florins.
It was written by Abraham the Jew, but the text was a riddle he couldn't solve. He spent 21 years trying to decode it. Finally, he journeyed to Spain to find a sage.
Upon his return, on January 17th, 1382,
He claimed
He did it.
He didn't keep the gold. He built 14 hospitals, 3 chapels, and 7 churches in Paris. When he died in 1418, he designed his own tombstone. It is filled with arcane symbols.
But the story doesn't end. Years later, grave robbers opened his tomb looking for loot.
They found nothing. The coffin was empty. The legend of the immortal alchemist was born.
The secret didn't die with him. It traveled east again, to the misty streets of Prague.
Emperor Rudolf II turned his castle into the world's capital of the occult.
He housed hundreds of alchemists in the Golden Lane, promising them riches if they succeeded, and torture if they failed. The line between genius and madness was thin. Edward Kelly, the famous medium, promised the Emperor the stone. He died trying to escape a tower. As the Renaissance faded, a new light emerged. The Age of Reason. We are told that science killed magic, that chemistry replaced alchemy. But the greatest scientist of them all was leading a double life. Back to Isaac Newton. In his Cambridge laboratory, the fire never went out.
He was obsessed with the star Regulus of antimony, a crystalline star hidden inside metal.
He believed this star was the bait to catch the Spirit of God.
He coded his findings in mythology. Apollo was gold. The green lion was acid. In his mind, chemistry wasn't formulas. It was a battle of cosmic beasts.
He sought the cauda pavonis, the peacock's tail, the moment the matter turns all colors. But there was a price. Tests on his preserved hair centuries later revealed massive levels of mercury.
In 1693, Newton suffered a nervous breakdown. Was it madness or poisoning?
Legend says a fire destroyed his lab. Or perhaps he destroyed it himself?
He locked his papers away. They remained hidden for 200 years. Economist John Maynard Keynes said, "Newton was not the first of the Age of Reason. He was the last of the magicians."
With his death, the magic faded. The elements were categorized. The mystery was solved. Or was it? Science explains how matter behaves, but it forgot what matter is.
For 2 centuries, the world became grey. We built machines, until a Swiss psychiatrist opened those old books and saw what everyone else had missed.
Carl Jung realized the alchemists weren't describing chemical reactions. They were describing dreams.
He saw that the symbols in alchemy were identical to the images in the dreams of his patients.
Alchemy was never about changing lead into gold. It was about projection.
When the alchemist gazed into the black matter, he was actually gazing into his own unconscious mind.
The Nigredo, the blackening, is what we now call depression, the dark night of the soul.
It is the moment you must face your shadow. All the parts of yourself you hate and hide.
If you survive the darkness, comes the Albedo, the whitening,
The union of opposites, masculine and feminine, logic and emotion, the alchemical marriage.
Finally, the Rubedo, the reddening, the phoenix rising from the ashes.
This is the creation of the self, the moment you become whole. We stopped looking for the stone in laboratories, but we are still looking for it in our screens, in our status, in money.
But the ancient masters knew the truth. The laboratory is not a place. It is you. You are the lead. You are the fire. And you are the alchemist.
from the sands of Egypt to the mind of Newton. The quest never ended. It just changed form. The snake eats its own tail. The end is the beginning.
Stop looking for gold. Start making it.